I doubt any of you but one person, maybe one person remembers that chainsaw. And I know one person, at least, I should say, one person remembers this chainsaw. It's because he asked about it the other day. And it reminded me to take another look at it. Now I know this could tie in with my new channel, the lawnmower, the shade tree mower mechanic channel, but since I did this one originally on this channel, I thought I'd go ahead and talk about it. So the customer brought this chainsaw to me and they burned it up. They put the wrong, they didn't put a fuel oil mixture in it. So they said I could have it. Well, I wanted to do some experimenting with it to see if I could get it to run again. The engine was shot. So I bought an upper cylinder, new piston, rings, the whole thing. And I think I paid $25 for that. It was aftermarket. Took the whole thing apart, put the new rings, new piston, new cylinder on it. Started for a second, and one of the clips popped out. So I returned that to Amazon. I mean, it's 25 bucks, and I returned it, and they took it, no problem. So then, for $30, you could buy the entire engine. And I thought, hey, what the heck, give it a try. So I put a new engine on it. And it didn't work, it had low compression. So I returned that. Again, the only thing I'm out is my time. But the experiment was doing fine. So I returned it and got another one. Because the reviews on it were actually pretty good. I didn't see anybody saying that it didn't run. But I put another one in it and it didn't run. Well, I kind of gave up on it. So now I've got... Well, now, just to be clear, I returned that engine too. So, but I didn't return the carburetor, which was brand new, and I did not return the ignition coil, which was brand new. I bought those off Amazon also. Commenter commented, hey, did that ever run? Did it ever get going? You want to know about the engine? I said, nah, it had low compression each time I did it, so I just figured it wasn't going to work. But it reminded me, why am I giving up on this? So I went to another off-brand, or aftermarket off name brand type thing. It was a different brand name, is what I'm trying to say. And I think it was $32. So I went ahead and got it. I figured I'm not out any money except for the carburetor and the ignition coil. Now remember, ignition coils tend to have a problem when they're aftermarket. I understand that. It's not a big deal to me. But so I got the engine. Tried to start it up and it didn't start. So I got a better quality ignition coil, but only for a couple dollars more. Put a new ignition coil on it. Now that I have my multimeter, I can test to see if the ignition coil is bad. I've done experiments like that before. So put a new ignition coil on it. I wasn't able to return the old ignition coil because I waited too long, but that's neither here nor there. And it started. So this is a $30 engine. That's it, $35, whatever it is. I know I've got a lot of money invested in it, new carburetor net. And I'm going to interrupt this video real quick and ask you, at the end of this video, I'll have an up next box to my other channel. And if you click it, watch the video in regular speed, I'd appreciate it if you do that. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. And I bet you I can help you repair a piece of equipment, lawn equipment, by the time we're done. But the chain, you may remember I had an old Ryobi, not an old Ryobi, I bought a new one when we moved here, but I ran that thing to death. Well, the last time I tried to cut one of these trees down, the walnut, it was really having an issue. It was hard to start. You could tell it was on its last legs. The bearings and things were. So I looked in there with my new endoscope, and yeah, I was starting to see some scoring. So I used it a lot. I mean, I cut 15 years worth of firewood, 15 cords of firewood, and well, probably more than that, 15 plus 8. So we're up to 23 cords with a little bitty 14-inch chainsaw that didn't have the power to do it, but for 120 bucks, I mean, got plenty of firewood out of it. Which is probably where I'm at with this. I'm probably about $120 with this. It wasn't worth it. I just did it as an experiment, just to see if I could. So that's the chain and the bar from the Ryobi. Now I have the original bar to this, but I don't know what I did with the chain, or when the lady gave it to me, even if it had a chain. I can't imagine I got rid of the chain. So the only thing that's original on this, pretty much, is the plastic casing, you know, the plastic, everything you see on the outside here. The clutch, which looks like, I don't know, the springs might be wearing out on that. So the clutch is the same, the original, and the oil pump. Everything else has been redone on it. So anything that makes it run is aftermarket. That is an aftermarket chainsaw with a steel label on it. I'm really proud of this. This is one of my more prouder moments that, you know, I just kept at it until I had some success with it. So now I have another chainsaw to replace that Ryobi. And I'm not even saying this is going to last a long time, but it's pretty looking. It's a steel chainsaw. I think, oh, look at that. I got a steel chainsaw. And it starts pretty easy. You saw that it's got a lot of power compared to that Ryobi. The bar might be too small. You got to be careful you don't over rev it. So I got to be careful with that I'm not, you know, giving it full throttle all the time. You know, full throttle 10 seconds or so, that's fine. But I need to put that, I think it's 16. This is a 14. I think the original is 16. So eventually I'll get a chain for the 16 and just take this 14 off of it. But I like running smaller bars anyways because it's safer. As you're cutting, you don't want that tip to hit something in front. If you got a long bar hanging out there like a rock, and then it kicks back on you because you just rolled it up into your head. So the smaller bar is better. But I think this one might have too much power for that little bar. So I'll just be careful with it. But like I said, it was $30. I could replace the engine anytime. So I hope I answered the subscriber's question. Is it worth it? Well, if I were to sell this, the only thing I would do is get my money back out of it. That's about all it's worth. I wouldn't be able to make any, you know, labor cost off of it. And this 170, this is a 170. That engine also goes in, well, all of it goes into a 180. It's a 170 or 180. And they're pretty cheap. I think you can get them for like 220 bucks. They're not that expensive. So let's say I got $30 in this. I don't think it's worth it, but it was fun. So I don't know, if you are into doing this kind of thing and you want to replace the engine because you burned yours up, if you're willing to do it a couple times, and it's not that hard. I mean, it takes you a half hour. Once you get used to it, half hour to take it apart, half hour to put it back together. You can keep your chainsaw. Instead of going out and spending another 220 bucks, you spend 30 bucks. And that's the thing I don't understand about folks saying you can't buy aftermarket. It's junk. Don't buy aftermarket. As long as you're telling your customer you're buying aftermarket and there's no guarantees with it except past the 30 days, Amazon takes it back. Really no questions asked at all. As a matter of fact, when I bought the ignition coil for this, I also bought a set of nuts, because this one was missing. You can see that one's newer than this one. That one was missing, so I bought a set of 8. At the same time, same order, and they shipped it in an envelope. You know, one of those kind of like bag envelopes. Well, so when I got the package, the only thing that was in there was the ignition coil. And the nuts weren't in there, even though Amazon said I received them. So I immediately contacted Amazon instantly and said, look, I got the ignition coil. It was in the package, but the nuts were missing. There's a rip in the package. And Amazon said, well, we'll go ahead and refund your entire amount. So not only did they pay for the ignition coil, they paid for the nuts. Or no, you should say it the other way around. They paid for the nuts and the ignition coil. Gave me all my money back, even though I still had the ignition coil. So to me, when you say Amazon, these aftermarket products on Amazon are not worth it, I fundamentally disagree. It's just, when you buy OEM, there's restocking fees, and you got to call and make a big mess of things. With Amazon, I just got on the chat and said, hey, this thing's missing the nuts on that, and okay, no problem. I mean, it took a few minutes, but when you call a company, you know, you're on hold for an hour anyways. And when I say it took a few minutes, you got to get through the AI. You know, the AI asks a bunch of questions, and they'll AI finally say, hey, you want to talk to someone? Sure, yeah, I'd like to chat with someone. So I chatted, and I would say within a half hour, I had a full refund. And as soon as they gave me my refund, I got the email notification that I got the refund. I went and bought those nuts, and that was like 2 days ago. And I already got the nuts, which I know if you live in the city, that's not uncommon for folks that live near an Amazon facility, but for us, it takes a week to get anything. So I'm really proud of this. I know, a lot of people think I'm silly. And somebody's gonna say, that just wasn't worth it. I wouldn't have done that. Just go get yourself another chainsaw. Why waste your time? Well, time is money. And so we can look at it, you know, one of two ways. I could go spend the $220, go get a new chainsaw, and have nothing to make content with, which is my job. So instead, I spent, this is the third video I've done on this chainsaw. So, well, maybe fourth. I guess fourth video I've done on this chainsaw, because I also did the diagnostic. So I've made, let's just say I made $220 off this chainsaw. What, you know, making videos, 4 or 5 videos, whatever it is. I probably didn't make 220 bucks, but you get the idea. Last year, I was making a little bit more than I am this year, you know, since then. So anyway, let's just round it up 220 bucks. So I spent 130 on it, getting it all fixed up. So I'm up $90 on a chainsaw. And I got to play, make content. I don't know, to me, it was worth it. So your way, you know, just go out and buy something other than the chainsaw, it'd be better. Well, that's, first of all, lazy, I think. I mean, if you can fix it yourself, Tim Taylor used to say, you don't really own it unless you build it. Something like that. Well, I built that one. I own that one. So I disagree. I think that fixing things up, if nothing else, it's fun. It's a good hobby, and you can save money with it. Now, one quick thing. I was talking about water the other day. Well, for some reason, they were predicting 10 degrees last night, but we ended up getting down to 4 degrees. And the water started to freeze. I got up about 11, and I noticed the water was starting to freeze. So I turned the water on, and it broke loose, fortunately. So water started to come through. So we went ahead and throttled it so the pump will go, which means it's sending water. So essentially, if you were turning your faucet, it was dripping. So it was doing that every 6 seconds. When I got up this morning, I heard it going, but by the time I got the fire built, it had stopped doing that. So it had froze. So again, I turned the water all the way up, all the way on, and it broke loose again. So I turned it on a little faster, about every 3 seconds, and it froze up again. So I went out with my torch, and I just heated up the hoses. Everybody's gonna say the tank's frozen. The tank isn't frozen. The tank water was about 33 degrees, so it wasn't frozen at all. So what it was is, as that water was coming down into the pipe, it would sit there too long, and it would freeze before it could travel into the house. So I went out there with the torch, broke it loose real quick, ran it a little faster. I mean, it was almost nonstop, like that, the pump was. Maybe once a second, maybe a little less, but we got through the night, and now it's starting to warm up. So I think we're gonna be okay. They're talking about another cold spell in February. We'll see. But the problem I'm having right now is everything was so cold, and we just got thawed out. Nothing got warmed up enough to handle another cold snap. But we're through it, so we're gonna go several days now without freezing up easy. So we're not even gonna get down into the teens. So if you click this up next box, it'll take you to a video on my other channel where I'm working on something, probably a pressure washer. So I hope I can inspire you to not only save some money, but have fun while you're doing it. So you can live your dreams. Thanks for watching.